Hi, my name is Amy Reader Hadley, and today I'm going to show you how I ink. So I thought I would use a page where I was working on Madame Xanadu, and it's from Madame Xanadu issue 2. So yeah, that's the series I'm working on right now, and it's published through Vertigo and written by Matt Wagner, and it's about two immortal characters and sort of their love-hate relationship with each other as they run into each other throughout different periods of time. So we start out in Camelot and work our way through places like the court of Xanadu when Kublai Khan was ruling, to the French Revolution, just a lot of really fun different places, and I have to do a lot of research for it, but it's pretty cool. So with the character design of Madame Xanadu in these first few issues in Camelot, I wanted to make her look kind of wild, because in Matt's script she's supposed to be a forest nymph, so I thought wild and noble, so deer-like, I guess. And so to make her more deer-like, I strapped some antlers to her head, gave her some deer hoof shoes where she has to stay on her tippy toes for them, and made her able to run really fast. Just kind of some fun touches that I could put on it. With this particular panel, she's looking a bit distressed, I know, and that's because she is getting hit in the back with something, and I guess you'll just have to read to find out what that is. So let's see. Right now I'm drawing her hair. So first I do the outlines, and since she's got black hair, I do spot blacks with a brush pen. And my favorite brush pen that I've gotten so far, the brand is Faber-Castell, and I just like it because the brush seems really sturdy. It's flexible, but it doesn't get fibers loose and stuff like that, and it just lasts a lot longer, and the ink's really good too. It's really thick and it's India ink, so I highly recommend them. And so I fill in some spots here and there. Her hair's in a braid, so it's a lot of complex patterns that are pretty fun to do. And then I go and get my very thin pen and sort of brush in the hair so that it transitions well from the black spots into the white. And it takes forever, but it ends up looking really cool, almost grayscale in a sense. And the type of pen I use here is a Copic Multiliner SP, and SP is the series of multiliners that where you can actually change out the tips as well as the ink cartridge. And so in my case, I wear down the tip way more quickly than I run out of ink, and so that way I'm not like wasting a whole marker that's got tons of ink in it, but I just wore down the tip. And the size I use is 0.01, so that's pretty thin. I like to work with thin lines. I think it looks pretty and you can do a lot of details, so it's just kind of the way I go. You'll see I'm also working with a triangle that I'm holding with my right hand, and that's just simply because that way I can keep the paper nice and flat, so it won't bend out at all, you know, and it's always really horrible when you're inking and then all of a sudden the paper touches your pen before you planned it to. So that's why I keep either a ruler or a triangle in my other hand. And what I do when it comes to inking, you can kind of see the underdrawing really lightly here, right? And it looks gray in the video, but it's actually a very light blue. I pencil it in a smaller size, at print size I suppose, on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and then I scan that in, and then I print it out so that it's, you know, I guess 1.5 times the size, so that it'll fit on an 11 by 17 piece of paper. And the light blue doesn't show up if you scan it right. And I don't even know if it's necessarily that it's blue in my case. There's such a thing as non-photo blue that won't show up in black and white scans, and I don't know that I really pick non-photo blue on the computer. I think it's just the fact that it's so light that if you scan it and then threshold it so that the light things become white and then the dark things become black, there's just no way that any of that blue will show up. And I like it doing it that way because that way you don't ruin your pencils. You can edit stuff on the computer after you're done working on the pencils, and there's no mess. And so I definitely prefer it that way. As far as technique goes, what I do first is I sort of trace the lines. I mean, that's the simplified way of saying it, but you know, I try and draw the main line there before I actually add any line weight. And even when I'm doing that, I add some line weight, like it's usually thicker in the darker spots, say that one thing's overlapping another thing, so I'll thicken there. Or if a line's going in, I usually thicken it more than if it's jutting out. So say here with her bag, that I'll be drawing here soon, when the lines go out, they're thinner, and then when they go in, they're thicker. Just kind of helps to give it more weight, makes it look less like a coloring book. And when I'm doing this, I sort of brush it in. That's part of the reason why I use such a thin pen, is that I use lots of short wispy strokes to make up one long line, which is pretty non-standard as far as inking goes. Usually people have enough hand control so that they can just draw one smooth line, but I'm just so afraid of screwing it up that I'll just kind of chicken scratch my way into it and add, and so if I start out with a really thin pen, my lines will still stay thin by the end, and I like thin lines. And then once I've gone through and done all the outlines, then I'll add some weight, you know, in the deep crevices of everything. I've already done some of it, especially on her shirt there. But yeah, you know, just try and make everything have more weight. I am slow enough inking that I actually am not inking Madame Xanadu anymore. Starting with issue 3, Rich Friend will be inking it, and he is a phenomenal inker, so I'm actually really happy because there's no way I would have known that it would have worked out so well, except that I had to get myself an inker. He is such a great collaborator, and his lines just have so much action to them compared to mine, just so much life to them, and so I can't wait for you guys to see it because it's definitely added to the comic, and it's kind of fun to make the process more collaborative. So that's been pretty cool. So it looks like I'm nearing the end of this drawing, and I thank you for watching and listening, and I hope I've answered some of your questions. If you're interested in getting Madame Xanadu, it's out at comic book stores, and it's published by Vertigo, which is part of DC Comics, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm very excited about where the story's going. Luckily, I've read a lot farther than you guys have, and it's really cool to see where everything goes. Matt is definitely a genius when it comes to this stuff, and his plots are really visual, so it's been a privilege to be able to draw it and to work with him because he kind of helps me to do my thing. And looks like it's done. Thank you.